Hello everyone, it is I Archie from Archie's Orchids. It's been a long time, it's been a few years. And the reason I'm making a video now is I've just spent the past few hours just really looking back at my channel, watching old videos, cringing at old videos. And I just really wanted to update you all on where I am, what I'm doing. And not only that, I'm probably going to watch this video in 5-10 years time and look back, cringe. And yeah, so what am I doing now? Well, I'm 22. Yeah, I feel old too, don't worry. And I work full time now. I do grow plants still, not so many orchids. I got really into the house plants, just philodendrons and that sort of thing, like rare house plants. And I've probably got a collection of about 200 now. I still do have a few orchids, bear with. So there have been some that have followed me through the years, in and out of the hobby, and when I left, and we'll get into why I left in a minute. But just some that I've loved dearly and always have done. And two Coleogenes here, which I'll show you now, have come with me. So the first one is this one, which is Coleogene nitida. It's got a new name now. I can't remember off the top of my head what the new name is. But this is Coleogene nitida. I've had this one for only about a year. I've not grown it very well, as you can probably tell from the brown tips and all the leaves. I sort of forgot about this one for a bit and it went dry over most of the summer. How it's not dead, I don't know. But she lives. There's a few spikes coming on here, 3 of them, which is due because it's becoming spring, and these tend to flower in the spring. I have these beautiful white flowers and beautiful aroma. It lasts for a few weeks and it just fills up a room you're in. It's a stunning, stunning Coleogene. So that one's come with me. Second Coleogene is this one. Coleogene massingiara or tomentosa. This one has beautiful long pendant spikes, up to 4 or 5 feet long, of these cream flowers, which I always thought smelled like watermelon. But the main reason I have this plant and why I've kept this plant is because of the leaves. Just these huge, stately leaves. A really nice structural plant, and it's a good ornament. I've got it in this like concrete cover pot. It's just a pretty plant, even when it's not in bloom, in my opinion. Relatively easy to grow. I mean, it does well in the cool. It does well in the warm. It's good for shade. Flowers reliably. It's bloomed for me a few times since I've had it. I've had it about 2 years. And I just adore it. And then another orchid that I have that's currently in bloom is this Phalaenopsis. Now, this one really surprised me. When I bought it, probably about 2 years ago, it had 1 spike on it with 4 flowers on it. It was on clearance for like £2.50. This year, I have managed to get 3 spikes on it. And it's this beautiful, I don't know if I can get in close. It's this beautiful pale yellow with a pink lip. And I just love it. And it's also delicately fragrant, which is uncommon for complex hybrids of Phalaenopsis. And so, yeah, this one's doing really well. And I think the reason it's flowered so well is because I'm quite brassic and it's winter and my house is not as warm as I want it to be. But Phalaenopsis do really well and do bloom really well with quite a cool temperature drop, quite a vast temperature drop in the colder months, which does encourage them to bloom. A lot of people say this happens because the cold stresses the plant. That isn't true. It's just replicating how it grows in its natural habitat. Obviously, this is not a natural orchid. It's not a species, but its heritage of the species that it was bred with, probably many 10-20 species that it has over the years been bred with, where it comes from, it likes a drop. I still ramble. You may have noticed. So what happened? Where did I go? There was a factor of a few things, the perfect storm, if you like, of why I gave up with orchids. The biggest one was I had my first relationship breakup. And I don't know if you can remember, if you're a long-time subscriber of I made a video of I'm making a comeback, and I was in my bedroom with a plant backdrop. That was a week after I had just broken up with this relationship. It's my first relationship. I was very tender. And I just didn't really want to do anything after that. It really just took the gumption out of my life, which is strange to say now because I've had a few more since then and they haven't hurt as bad. Some of them I've quite enjoyed. So that was the first and the biggest reason, is I just became infatuated with this person. It all ended and I just completely neglected the orchid side. The second thing was I had quite a catastrophic accident in the greenhouse. If you can remember, my greenhouse was relatively small. It was probably only about 6 feet by 4 feet. It was a small greenhouse, south facing. And in the summer, and this summer was particularly hot. I think it was 34, 35 degrees Celsius, which I think is around 80, 90 Fahrenheit outside. It was about 48, 50 inside, and everything just cooked. And there was nothing I could do. I was at college at the time. I'd rushed out the door, I forgot to open the windows, forgot to sort out the ventilation and top up the hydrofogger, and I just came back and everything, near enough everything, was dead. And we're talking, this is 300-400 orchids, 7 years collecting. Some species which could not be found in collections really anywhere in the world. Some really rare species of bulbophyllum and some subspecies of bulbophyllum which are just not in cultivation. And I was really upset, really upset. I'd lost a lot of money, a lot of time, and just a lot of passion, really. I had no orchids to take to orchid shows, nothing to display, nothing to show for 6 years of growing, which was really disheartening. And after that, I just did not want to build my collection up again just for that to happen again. And so I didn't. So I went to college. I did a level 3 diploma in horticulture. During the time at college, I had a friend who grew air plants, and I went with him to help him put on a display at Chelsea Flower Show and won a gold, which was one of the highlights of my horticultural career. But after that really monumental win, I just stopped. I don't know why. I found other hobbies. I'm quite autistic, and so I tend to get a hobby and focus all my energy on it and then drop it. So my next hobby after orchids was music, and some of you may have seen on, I don't know why I post it on my main channel, but some music that I've done. I sing now, quite badly, but I try and write some songs, and that's what my hobby's been for the past 4 or 5 years. And then obviously it became an age where I was old enough to work, so I got into work. And one of my first jobs was working in funerals. I started off doing some prep work in a mortuary, sort of, preparing the deceased for viewings and things like that, and pole bearing and things like that. And I was in that for a good couple of years, 2-3 years. I loved that job. And I have full intention of going back to that job when the time is right. But yeah, so now I work in a bar, which is quite standard for someone my age, with not a lot of ambition. And then, so, yeah, I haven't started orchids again now, because financially it's just not viable for me. In the way I want to do it, that is. I mean, I definitely could buy some plants and grow them in a home environment to the best I can, but it wouldn't feel right doing that, as in being in the past I've had a greenhouse and I've grown things the way they should have been grown. I wouldn't feel right about doing that, and I'd want to go straight back into growing into a greenhouse, which is not viable at the moment. Because when I was younger, when I was making videos like 7-8 years ago, my parents funded almost everything. I had a few Saturday jobs that I did, and paper rounds and washing cars and the standard things a young teenager does to earn money, which I used to buy plants at orchid shows and things. But the utility bills, like the electric to heat the greenhouse, the water, my repotting mediums, all of that was funded mainly by my mother, who is not a rich woman by any means. And so I'll always eternally be grateful for that. And obviously now, being 22, I can't rely on my mother to fund my hobby. And so I don't, and I can't really afford. I mean, currently, the energy crisis, as I'm sure we're all aware of going on, I've calculated to run that small greenhouse for a week will cost me £40 a week, just in electric. Then there's the water bills, and then there's potting media, and then I've got to buy the plants. It's just not viable. So maybe one day, when I'm mega rich and mega famous, maybe I will do that again. But currently, no. I think probably it's going to be my retirement plan, but we'll see. That's 60 years down the line yet. So, where's this channel going? Nowhere, really. I won't be uploading regularly, I doubt, unless some miracle happens. There may be the odd video here or there, something in bloom, or I don't know. But I'm not saying please like and subscribe, because there's really nothing to subscribe for. But my plan for the next 10 years, work, save money, maybe get a deposit on a house. I mean, I live in the same house that I did when I was growing orchids. I've lived here for 16 years. This was my mum's property that she rented. And then she moved out with her boyfriend and I sort of stayed. And so I live here full time. I've taken on the lease myself. It's a tidy little 3-bed, which isn't bad for a 22-year-old. I share it with my partner, who pays half. Well, I say he pays half. He doesn't. And actually, the room I'm in now, this curtain here, there's a window here. If you remember a long time ago, when I first started, I grew in this room. Where I'm sat now, there was an indoor greenhouse. Over there was a dining table, and in that corner was my strelitzia and some of my citrus trees from my first grow room tour. This is that room. Redecorated, obviously. But yeah, so that's what's going on, really. I stopped growing orchids because I was a heartbroken teenager. I had a tragedy. I was going to college. I was busy. And I just stopped. And I fell out of love with it. I really did. You know, the feeling of the orchid hobby for me now was not the same as it was when I started 10 years ago. There was this complete infatuation I had when I first got, and the reason I first got into orchids was, well, my grandma was one, she grew orchids, and I was just interested in the topic, and I first started watching Miss Orchid Girl, and I was just at awe with some of these plants and what they could do and the ways they smelt and bloomed, and it was stunning. I loved it, and it was like falling in love. It really was. And then the second channel that I got into, there were 3 main channels that got me into, well, four channels that got me into the orchid hobby. Was Miss Orchid Girl was first, Gardening at Doenza was second, Rachel. I still have the book that she sent me, and I've read it cover to cover loads of times. A Journal of an Irish Garden that she signed for me. The third was, who was the third? It was probably Roger Frampton, Roger's Orchids. And the fourth was Astrid. Astrid's not active anymore. The other 3 are. But yeah, just didn't have that feeling. God, this is long. I'm rambling. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. If you've watched this all the way, blooming hell, you must be bored. So, over and out. I will maybe see you in the future, maybe not. I might post a few things of music here. I might not. I don't know. I'm not promising anything like I have in the past. Anyway, take care of yourselves, all of you. Thank you for watching if you have. Thank you for remaining subscribed if you have. And it's been really good to talk to a camera. I haven't done this in a long, long time. It feels nice. So thanks for watching and listening if you have. If not, I'm not bothered, because this was mainly for me anyway. And I will see you maybe soon. Take care.